My name is Chad Reed, and I was asked. I think I'm the pitch hitter for somebody else that was supposed to do this initially. So, I wanted to go over a few basic things. I'm going to start off with how much water should you have on store or in storage for yourself and for your family. One of the golden rules, and the easiest way to remember it, is 1 gallon per person per day. Is one of the rules that I found throughout. You actually only need about, I'll stay still, never mind. You actually only need about 2 liters or 2 quarts per person per day to survive or to maintain life. However, you're going to need to do some cleaning, you're going to need to do some cooking along with that. So that's why I'm saying the 1 gallon or double what you actually need. So one of the things that I was talking about near the end with the other people is you should also do a little bit of a water survey or a water audit on yourself to begin with. If you ever have a time that you and your family are going to be home, and if you like camping, the easiest way is to go out and go camping and make a note of how much water are you actually using. I ended with a story last time of my wife and I love camping. We love to go out and go boondock type camping, way out in the middle of nowhere. We're not into the, maybe I don't like people, I don't know what it is, but we love going way out. And when we had kids, we decided, you know what, we're going to maybe need to try an RV or something of that nature just for the kid side of it. So we went out and I borrowed an RV from my father, and we had 110 gallons of fresh water. We got out there and we were like, man, we're set. And I was gone for about a half a day hiking, and I came back in and I asked my wife how much water is left, and she said, I have no idea. How do you know how much water is left? So we hit the little button and it told us empty. And we went, uh-oh, what happened? And we started realizing that she was used to doing things like normal, like we do in our house. When we're cooking, a lot of times you leave water running. You're brushing teeth, you might leave water running. When you're washing dishes, you don't necessarily capture all the water that you have. And she started doing this, and she had ripped through that whole 110 gallons within that first half day. And so the rest of that week, we were sitting there going, uh-oh. And so we went and we got water and refilled, but we learned something on that trip. Both of us learned how to conserve every drop and make it count for if I'm washing my hands, I'm going to catch that water because I can use it for something else later on. So as you're preparing or as you're getting ready for this, make sure that you actually know how much water you need. Just because I say a gallon per person per day doesn't mean that's what you really need. You might need 10 gallons per person per day. It doesn't really matter what you need, you just need to have it and be ready. So it's kind of individual. The golden rule is 1 gallon per person per day, but a lot of times you need a lot more than that. The other thing I wanted to talk about real fast is containers. I have a small smattering of different types of containers. I have the Mylar bag looking style. The nice thing about it is it does change shapes, so it fits nice underneath beds, different things of that nature. To the standard when we go camping, what you're thinking of containers, to a 55-gallon drum. The most important thing you need to remember in choosing your container is, 1, where you're going to store it. 2, is it a water-approved container? If you notice on the bottom of different food grade stuff, you'll see a marking on there, the recycling symbol that we see so much, the HDPE2 symbol. That is a food grade thing. However, it doesn't mean food's always been in that container. So just because you get it from somebody on a yard sale or something, you think, oh man, I just scored 10 of these little 5-gallon containers, I'm so happy. It doesn't mean that they always kept water in it. So you should be very cautious if you're using it for a potable water source or for your drinking water, that you know where the container's been and what's happened in it. Because if they had some sort of different chemicals in it, there are a lot of times, even though you're washing it with the hot water or you're using bleach to disinfect, that residual will stay with the plastics and you will get it back out. The other thing that's extremely important extremely important is to make sure that where you're storing your water is not next to gasolines, different petroleum products, because it will leach right through the plastic. It will go right through and you're going to take on those tastes, those odors, and the properties of the different gasoline or different pesticides, herbicides, different things of that nature. Yes, ma'am.
How close? So it's by a vehicle?
Buy a vehicle. The only thing you hopefully you're not leaking gas out of your vehicle because it's too expensive. So you're going to get some exhaust out of it. your exhaust is going to be slightly different. Hopefully you're not getting any petroleum product directly out of your exhaust. If you are right next to it, and literally we're saying inches, I might try to move it a little bit further away. The vehicle itself should not be losing product out of it. If it is, you might want to get it fixed. But a garage, one of the things that we see a lot of times, you'll see the 3 or 4 55-gallon barrels, and then literally sitting right next to it is gasoline can. Gasoline can leak. It's just a good rule of thumb. Try to keep the two things. If that's going to go on my body, I don't run real good on gasoline, so therefore I try to keep it apart from it. And so, other thing, hoses. When you're filling these, if you notice, I have a different style than what is your normal hose, drinking water safe hose. I typically get and the other thing I was going to say is once you have it out, put the two ends together. It's just good practice that you aren't going to get bugs, whatever, going in it. Put the two ends together. Also, once you fill up your container, drain the hose the best you can. You might want to let it air dry for a little bit, then put the two ends back together, just because if you let raw water sit in there for a long period of time, you run a potential for different molds, different
bacteria.
Yeah, exactly. Different product to get in there. And so they're not good product, let me put it that way. So make sure and get the right type of hose. Don't use your garden hose. You don't know that somebody didn't go out and use some Miracle Grow on the grass earlier, and then the next thing you know, it's getting into your water. And we don't do so good on Miracle Grow. So the thing, make sure you have the right hose, make sure you have the right container. Once you have those two things, make sure you're going to then, once you have them full, they're not real easy to transport, especially a 55-gallon drum. Water weighs about 8.31 pounds per gallon. If you fill up a 55-gallon drum, I'm not strong enough to throw it over my shoulder and carry it. Maybe you guys are. So make sure when you're moving 55-gallon or filling them, you have it where you want it and it's ready to go. The other thing that you need to pay attention to is, just because I went to Walmart, let's say, and I bought this, or I went to wherever your emergency supply guy that you're getting it from, does not mean that it's ready to be filled. You need to disinfect the product before you're putting the water in. And another important thing is you need to pay attention to where you're getting your water. Are you getting it from a municipal source? Are you getting it from a well? Because those are going to affect how much chlorine you're going to put into it. I put a little cheat sheet on there, on the bottom there, of the amount of chlorine that you're seeing, or the amount of chlorine you should do. When you get a new container, the best practice to do is superchlorinate it, which is roughly 5 parts per million. And you're going to say 5 parts per million, what in the world are you talking about? How am I going to know what this is? The numbers I gave you are for 2 parts per million. So if we do basic math, we're going to double it, and then you're going to go at a half of what originally said there. You're going to get it up to 5 parts per million, and then it needs residence time. It needs to stay in there. Once you have that superchlorinated water in there, you're going to want to stir it up. You're going to want to get it in there. You're going to disinfect what's going on in there. Hopefully it doesn't have anything that you stored paint inside of it, and then you decided, you know what, I need water. Dump the paint, it's water now. It's not a good water source. It might be good once you have different things like that for gray water, or for other things. Well, not gray, because you shouldn't be using gray, but for other non-potable sources, we're going to have to wash hands. We're going to have to rinse off different things. I wouldn't necessarily do a real heavy chemical in there, but you have water for other things. I keep saying bleach or chlorine, and I keep using the two. Bleach is a sodium hypochlorite, as long as it has a chlorine in it. You do not want a scented bleach or any of the fancy product. Get the cheap stuff, man. Go cheap. Get just regular bleach. It's about 5% by volume of sodium hypochlorite is what the actual ingredient is in there. That's what's going to do the killing or disinfecting of the product, or of the water. And so I'm basing all these off of, you're going to be using a standard normal bleach that has around 5% sodium hypochlorite in it. I personally, real fast on disinfecting, I personally don't like iodine. That's just my personal thing. I'm not saying it's bad. It'll do the same job. It does a lot of things leave a residual taste. Taste is a hard thing to get out of water. You normally need to use a charcoal filter or different things of that nature, or like a granulated activated carbon or
We're
something.
going to be learning about that next.
Oh, okay. You're going to be learning about that. So you're going to learn about, you're going to need something like a charcoal to get taste out.
Not only that, but with iodine, you can only drink it for a couple of days before it starts affecting your health.
Yeah.
So it's not a long-term thing, it's a short-term thing.
Yeah. Okay. And I just do it for taste.
Yeah, it's
I'm
gross.
gonna be honest. It does leave a
See,
residual.
I'm from the service and
You use
it
iodine.
up to 90 days.
Yep.
Iodine.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on automatic.
Yeah, and I know that
it
from
doesn't
classes
bother
I've
me,
attended.
but-
Exactly.
And it's direct. There's no charcoal.
Yeah.
There's no nothing.
Yeah.
Drop it and go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Question: When you, as soon as you open the bleach, because I've read articles that say, as soon as you open a bottle of bleach, it starts to lose its potency over a month, 3 months, 6 months to a year. So therefore, if your bleach is old and it's been opened, you need probably to date it when you open it, because then you would probably have to increase the amount.
One of the
Because if you keep it in your food storage and you're using it,
If you ever have questions, two things. What you're saying is 100% right, especially if it's been stored in direct sun. A lot of times, at least in our house, our laundry room has a window in it. We a lot of times leave it on the windowsill. Direct sun does affect that. And so chlorine will come out of the aqueous solution or out of the water solution that it's in with direct sun. It activates the chlorine module or the chlorine molecule, and chlorine does not want to stay in that solution. It wants to get out
Evaporate
because it goes to a gaseous form. And so therefore it does, you're 100% right. If you have it open, especially if you have the cap off, you're going to lose some of it. The other thing that we're going to talk about how long, when to change your water here in just a second, but if you ever have questions though, you can get water sample kits and know exactly what the residual, which is what matters in killing everything. You can test that residual and see how strong is the solution that you have. And so that's a real good thing if you sit there and look at that and you say, well, that Chad guy's nuts. I need 4 drops. Well, if you're on a well water, you didn't have any residual to begin with. If you're getting your water from a municipal source, it's going to have a residual of chlorine in it to begin with. Now, if depending on where you live, you might already have there's different types of chlorination that they use. There's a chloramine, there's a free chlorine. Depending on what it is, it might already have some aqueous ammonia that is in it. Now that's something very different, and you might need to do what's called a break point. And so there's a lot of different techniques to water and how you get it to a customer. And so for that reason, you might do a little trial and error the first time and go buy these little test kits. They're not expensive. We're talking a simple dip in there and you say, yep, that's what my residual is. And you just match up the color on the little wheel. Or on the pool supply stores have them. Those are generally a high test kit. The other thing that if you take a sample to any public water system, they'll test it for you as well. And they test it all the time, numerous times per day. So they're used to testing it, and you'll get a very good, accurate result. Shelf life, though. Let me get back on here. I'm only going to go for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to start doing it, and we're going to have several of you guys come up and try the different pumps. And I don't know how long I've been talking, so I like to talk, so I'll just be up here forever. I think you guys want to hear what I have to say, too. So, the shelf life, how long you should leave it. I've read things all the way up to 5 years. I personally don't buy that story, and here's why. And I'll explain. If you want to go with it, I'll give you a thumbs up, and hopefully during a disaster we can share water and we'll be great. But I personally believe in the 6-month rule of thumb. They say 6 months to a year. A lot of people here are LDS, and every time you watch the prophet speak on TV, go change your water, basically, is how I look at it. You can use the water, even with that residual chlorine that is in there, that 2 parts per million chlorine, you can still use it. Take it out, put it on your yard, or try to live off of it. Try to live for a few days, see how long it lasts. See what's happening. Another thing you need to know is, I'll get right to you guys, I don't want to see the blood go out of your arms, so I'll get right to you. When you get that water out of the container, it is going to need some post-treatment or some work to it, and we're going to get into that in just a second. You got it. Aeration is going to be one of your best friends. Yes, ma'am.
So if I've got it treated, can I send it straight out into my garden plants, for instance?
I would
that chlorine's going to be bad for
The
them?
chlorine will be bad for it. It's what concentration. If you're talking the super chlorinated, the 5 parts per million water, don't put that on your garden. It's called herbicide basically. Is what you just put out.
Could you just take the top off for a couple days and let the air get to the chlorine and then use it?
The problem with doing that is if you're planning on using it right then,
Yeah.
it's not as bad. But the problem with letting it sit open to the atmosphere is one, you're introducing
Right.
airborne
I just
stuff.
meant like when you're going to clean your barrels and you don't
Yeah.
want to, you want to use it in your garden, but you don't want to kill your plants.
It will help get it out because, like we said earlier, the chlorine is going to want to go to a gaseous state, and so therefore it is going to help it get out. But if it's just sitting there with the aqueous solution of product, and you aren't having sun or different things, you're not going to get all of it out.
Okay.
But then again, the water that if you live in the town and you're getting municipal water, it has chlorine on it anyways, or has chlorine in it already. If you're on well water though, another important thing to remember is, you don't necessarily need to store quite as much per se. If earthquake, you might break the
pipes.
yeah, you might have some problems with your well, but do you have emergency backup power? Because with power, you can produce your own water, and you're going to produce the same product. Okay, if you got solar, then you're good. And so the only thing you would need to remember is during earthquake, there's a good time that you can have problems with the column and shaft of your well, and so that's the only issue that you could potentially have.
Now,
But
I just had a quirky thing.
yes, ma'am.
I took over a family home, it was like 60 kids. And she did some water storage, and we were in the back shed, and there were big, huge glass wine bottles full of water, dated and everything, sealed, and they were perfectly fine. You could still taste the chlorine.
Wow.
And it was like 92.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Anyone that says we got new water that you're dealing with, there is no such thing as new water on planet Earth. It's been used many times. You can make different filtration systems also, especially with charcoal and different things.
Right.
You can take some gnarly water, and by running it through some stuff and get,
Clean it.
basically you're going to aerate it, you're going to let Mother Nature run
We've
its
got
course.
5 minutes.
Oh, and well, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I bought this, they're like buckets.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can put your water through it. It's like a filtration system.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about it is, instead of like a regular filter, if you start using it like a Berkeley, you know, you can't just put it back on the shelf. But this thing is like, they have different size buckets for how much water you're going to filtrate. And you can take roast water and turn it into pure, and it's kind of a nice little bucket you can just take with you. You can go
That's cool.
camping, or you can have it for a larger, different sizes. I think I spent like $150 on like this size,
Oh, really?
and it's for taking camping with your family and all that. You can take any kind of water, purify it, and when you're done, and you haven't used its full potential, put it back on the shelf, and it just dries all
Oh,
out.
that's
And it's
awesome.
fine.
That's awesome. I'm going to real quick demonstrate the filters for you. Or filters, the pumps, excuse me. I'm not filter guy at all today. So, setting the table back straight here. Obviously there's chlorine, there's iodine tablets, different things of that nature. Just in the interest of time, we're not going to talk about those. And I actually like these pumps. Just me personally, we use them at work a lot, and so I'm real used to them. I've been told that there's several. Oh wait, I'm having somebody else.
May I? 'Cause
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
one and I've never used it.
Oh, that's perfect. You're the perfect person.
So that's called a siphon pump.
It's a siphon pump. It works on the principle of once it gets the water flowing down, it's going to siphon. In order to stop it, you're going to open up the air, you're going to create an air gap in it, and it'll break the siphon. So, for right now, we tighten it down. Go ahead and just go up and down.
Right here?
Yeah, just go up or down first. And go up and down kind of fast. And you're done.
I can hear it.
It's still running.
The water,
See the
air
water
bubble
coming.
in
Oh,
it.
it's going. It's going. Never mind. It's going.
just had
Okay,
air
so
bubble.
it's running.
Oh, and I don't even have to. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's going. Now
So
we're
you don't have to stand there and pump the whole
No,
time.
and that's a big thing. You're going to be tired from doing other things if you're using something of this nature.
Well,
Work smarter than harder. Gravity
Okay.
and siphon is a good thing.
But until your water is at the same level,
Yeah, and then you're going
then
to have
what
a
do
problem.
do? Yeah.
Well, you're still going to be able to pump. You can still pump.
You
You're
can
just
still
not going to
pump
get the
it.
siphon.
It just won't siphon.
The other one that I was going to show real fast.
Because it's reaching its own level until it
Yeah.
reaches its own level.
May I ask you a question about those 50-gallon drums? The two holes are
Yes, sir.
threaded differently.
Yes, sir. There's a fine and a
And
coarse.
the one with the coarse threads, if you get that plug out of there, you're going to have a hard time getting it back in unless there's some secret of doing it.
Oh, you need that. A bung wrench.
Bung
Yeah,
wrench.
you need the bung wrench.
Need a
That's
bung
something
wrench.
else. The other thing I was going to say, and I forgot to say to you guys
Don't
real
do
fast,
without it.
is have several of these. They're not that expensive.
No, they're
and
not.
You never realize that I store it with all my emergency stuff that's over here. Something happens to that portion of the house or something, you really can't get to it. The other thing is they also sell them with a gas shut-off thing in them. And so have several of them on hand. Yes, ma'am?
Several, as in some of these siphon pump things too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I always go to find it and then he's used it for gas or oil or something. Hide it well.
Nice.
So that one screws down inside. Do they both screw down
I took
inside?
the adapter off. It has a little
Okay.
adapter on it. I pulled that off. They both screw down inside of the fine bung. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I was
Sorry.
going to say, regarding the, I lost it.
Bung.
Okay, no more
Oh,
comments because
metal,
we have to
metal.
finish.
You should get a metal one. Plastic are nice, but as time goes on, they age and plastic gets brittle. They do sell them, they're more expensive than metal ones. Aluminum.
I've heard that before as well. Same thing. Pump. I personally have not used this one a lot, so Debbie might be a better one to go on this one.
No, so that's
And-
why Debbie came to the class.
Oh, okay. My problem with this one is it does actually require pumping.
Okay.
But these are better. We use these at work as well. They're calibrated.
Uh-huh.
I have never seen one that's actually siphoned. So I like the siphon because I'm lazy, and I got other things I could do, and I can fill up that little 5-gallon container.
I
fairly
didn't
fast.
know that the siphon one that you could open that up and stop the flow.
Yes.
That's what I didn't like about
Oh.
the siphon ones because I thought I'm going to lose all this water.
Oh no! You just open up the top and it breaks. It introduces air and then it breaks it. The last thing I'm going to show real fast is the basic hose. The other thing that's important, you need a few small containers because most of us are not strong enough to throw 400 pounds on our back and carry it around where we're going to need it. You're going to need small containers. And they have the basic siphon hoses. They say shake it. I actually find that when you do these, first off, you got to pay attention to where the curve's going if your container's not full. So I put it in and I go up and down and I hold my hose purposely up like this so I'm keeping water column on it, and then go over and it'll start siphoning and it'll go down. I think it should. Yeah, okay. And it's a whole lot easier if you hold a little bit extra up as you're going up and down. If someone wants to try it, feel free, come on up.
Go for it.
And you're just going to go up and down. You don't shake it, you go up and down. And kind of go a little bit back. There you go. And then just drop the
Wow.
hose over the edge.
These things you're showing us, they're readily available at a emergency supply store.
Yes,
sir.
they are.
I know, I have one of these too. I think this might be, no, mine's in the truck still. I got ours at a place down in the valley. I don't remember where, to be honest.
SOS probably had it.
Okay. Yeah. So those are some of the basic things that you need. Container, keep a little bit extra chlorine on or bleach on hand, and once you get the water, you need to be able to get it back out and transport it.
Okay, I just want to say one thing before you go. That water preserver that's down there, there are some water districts that are using chloramites to do their water, and bleach does not work well with that.
No.
This particular product, which I'm going to zoom in on here, but you can't see it, is called Water Preserver, and it does work with chloramites and chlorine, and it's the only water preserver that I know of on the market that will store your water for 5 years. It's actually made for long-term storage. Okay, that's all. Thank you, Chad.